All right, so let's talk a little bit about what causes flooding here in Western Virginia. There's several different aspects over the course of the next little bit that we're going to be talking about, including the garden variety thunderstorms that really just don't seem to move all that much. More on that here in just a little bit. But a bigger concern for us, especially more of a widespread aspect to where we live here in Western Virginia, is our topography. We'll zoom into the Roanoke area and you can see off to our north and off to our west, we've got mountain ranges here that produce different elevation changes. Now what happens is when we do get rain showers or thunderstorms or just fronts that come into the area that drop a decent amount of rain, especially in some of these higher elevations, what ultimately happens to it? Well, gravity will gradually take its course, and the rain that falls at those higher elevations will ultimately wind down into the lower elevations. And since the Roanoke region is pretty much in a bit of a bowl, this is where a lot of that mountain water will ultimately collect itself into our area creeks and streams and rivers, and basically the lowest elevations of the region will typically see flooding. And when you look at the downtown area, downtown Roanoke, that is some of the lower elevations into the Roanoke area. So we do tend to see quite a bit of flooding into the downtown region, which again, we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But as far as our topography goes, when it rains at higher elevations, that rainwater ultimately finds its way into the lower regions, which of course is where we live for the most part. And that does result in areas of flooding in and around the Roanoke region. Not only is topographical flooding a problem, but so too are your everyday garden variety thunderstorms. Remember last year when we had that flooding in downtown Roanoke? That happened on August 19th, and that was courtesy of a thunderstorm that stayed put over the downtown area and hardly moved for over an hour. If you lived outside of the downtown area, you might not have seen a drop. But when a storm doesn't move, it can drop localized heavy rainfall amounts in a very short period of time, which overwhelms drainage systems, resulting in flash flooding. Now let's look at terminology. A flash flood occurs very quickly with little to no warning. River flooding is usually something that happens over time because of our topography, which I talked about earlier. Flooding can happen in any weather system, even in winter. If heavy snow is followed by quick warming, rapid snowmelt can occur, which also results in flooding. It's best to remember these tips. If you're driving, don't cross a flooded roadway if you cannot clearly see the surface of the road. Most vehicles can begin to float in as little as 1 foot of water. Here's something else to remember: the difference between a flood watch and a flood warning. A flood watch means that conditions are favorable that may result in flooding. A flood warning means that flooding is either imminent or is already occurring, and it's time to take action by seeking higher ground. Knowing this terminology now could help save your life down the road.